Welcome back to Daily DeFi. Today's June 18th of 2021. We'll be discussing MIR protocol, which went absolutely ballistic over the past 24 hours. Really, really crazy to see. Nothing else really has done that kind of crazy bounce off those lows. Fantom, Terra Luna, as well as Mark Cuban going back on his just absolutely love for DeFi when he got a rug pulled by this MIR finance project. We'll be talking about that, along with this new crypto venture fund investing in African startups. So let's kick things off with DeFi Pulse and juicy NFTs. So total value locked in is sitting at $58.13 billion. A little bit sideways in towards the downside, just kind of looking like we're in a bit of a descending wedge right here if we're looking at it on some candlestick charts. Aave dominance 14.75%. DeFi Pulse Index just fell below 300, down about 5% at 298.86. Now, Aave, Curve, Maker, Compound, all in the top spots. But as always, Aave really pushed above everything else. Even though it saw a significant dip, it still kind of levels above, even the number two spot, which is Curve, with total value locked in is like $7.5 billion. So very important to see that trend. Again, the majority of these are lending protocols. Curve Finance is kind of a mixture between a decentralized exchange and a lending. So daily NFT volume over on Juicy NFTs, 51,000, up about 48%. Again, nothing too spectacular. Just a little bit ago, we're seeing consistently this around like $2.5 million on a daily volume timescale. So you have to keep that in mind. Non-fungible tokens are not the most liquid market at the moment. I'm more looking at what these things will do long term outside of digital art. So new crypto venture fund to invest in African startups. Audacity is a venture fund with plans to become a full-fledged decentralized autonomous organization. Now, I love this. I've actually spoken with some similar projects, but mainly in Southeast Asia. I'm very, very bullish on Africa in general. I think it's really one of the last frontier markets, especially individual countries in Africa. Obviously, you have some that are a little bit more developed, like South Africa, I would say, is beyond an emerging market, right? Like I would say it's a developed market. You can go to Cape Town, really, really nice. But then you go to some other places, Rwanda, I really am interested in Nigeria, Kenya. These different markets are much, much more in between frontier and emerging. So Audacity is founded by Erikin Obatukudo. I apologize if I messed that name up. The fund is backing IDEO, Collab Ventures, and Electric Capital. The co-founder of Crypto for Black Economic Empowerment, CBE, a group for 100 Black founders and creators, today announced the launch of a new crypto venture capital fund, Audacity. Audacity Fund 1 is set to distribute money to African crypto startups with popular focus on DeFi. The term for, we already know that. This is Daily DeFi after all. So I thought this was really, really awesome. I'll read this and then we'll move on to the next article. So as exciting and interesting as blockchain and crypto is today's, it's still one-dimensional in terms of the participants. The fund's founder, Erikin Obatukudo, told Decrypt at the same time, he said, fundamentally, crypto is actually being led and driven by emerging markets, El Salvador, Argentina, places like Nigeria and the Philippines. So I completely agree. That's one thing you have to understand is banking the unbanked in crypto is huge. And for a lot of countries where either in the past you've seen a crazy devaluation and inflation in the currency, they want to turn to something that's a bit more stable. So that's where crypto, at least, you can ride the volatility swings towards the upside. Obviously, you also always have to contemplate the downside. But for some, when they just contrast that with their current system, they go, okay, this is much, much better to be in. So that's why, I love Africa. I'm actually planning to visit and do some real estate style videos for the channel, maybe next year or in the summertime. Okay, so next article from Cointelegraph. Mark Cuban calls the stablecoin regulation in the wake of Iron Finance bank run. Okay, so after the bank run on Iron Finance, protocol cost him dearly. Mark Cuban is calling for regulation to define what a stablecoin is and what collateralization is acceptable. So I had not heard of this. A really awesome guy that I met here in Tbilisi, Georgia, told me about it, and I found it very interesting. And then just a little bit after, and he had realized that obviously this project has a lot of downsides, that it's not so stable. He even said it's kind of one of the smartest, kind of not pyramid schemes, but just kind of false projects out there because they don't really have a lot of backing. But then you see billionaires FOMOing into things like this or getting involved in it. And even if Mark Cuban didn't have a lot of capital in it, it's still not so good, right? Because you can kind of scale this up and go, okay, what about in 4 years from now in the next kind of bull run? If these projects are still around if we don't have any regulation, this can be a massive problem. So I think I see both sides to the argument with regulation. It's really hard to regulate these things actually, but I think the best thing you can do is have kind of like, how ERC20 is basically a rule for all the tokens, or BSC, BP20 is the rule for all the Binance Smart Chain tokens. The most important thing I think with DeFi is having, okay, you have to pass this audit, right? You have to check these boxes, then your coin is listed as, maybe it has like the stamp of approval. I don't know exactly what it could be, but that way you can at least go, okay, does it have the stamp or does it not have the stamp? It's not saying that the government has to be involved. You can literally still do this in a decentralized manner, but those are just kind of my ideas. Obviously, someone who's a bit more familiar with coding, with doing the audits, would be able to do this a little bit better. But I think something like that, some sort of not regulation, but I would say kind of standpoint or really mark of approval in the space would be kind of nice to see. So according to Iron Finance, the particularly collateralized stablecoin project was the subject of the historical bank run that resulted in the price of Iron's stablecoin moving off peg. As a consequence, the price of Iron's native token, Titan, crashed by almost 100% over 2 days from its all-time highs of $64. Speaking with Bloomberg on June 17th, Cuban blamed himself for being lazy. So again, he recognized it, and not doing enough research, but also raised questions surrounding the regulation of stablecoins. There should be regulation to define what a stablecoin is and what collateralization is acceptable. Should we require $1 in U.S. currency for every dollar, or define acceptable collateralization options like U.S. Treasuries? Well, clearly other stablecoins are doing different things, right? Like USDT, USDC are claiming to be pegged. Then you have things like DAI. You have all these other things in each of the different ecosystems. And yeah, so it's kind of a strange conversation, but I think it does need to be had. So even though I got rugged, it's really on me for being lazy. The thing about DeFi plays like this is that it's all about the revenue and math. I was too lazy to do the math to determine what the key metrics were, Cuban said. So yeah, I'm not even going to read these tweets, but I find it kind of interesting, calling for regulation in this space. Moving on to the top DeFi tokens, most things are down a little bit today, but Terra Luna is doing well. Avalanche is up a tiny bit. Turn my brightness up here. Fantom up. Wow, Fantom's going kind of crazy, but MIR, you can see how pretty much, okay, all these charts mostly correlated, right? So just kind of sideways, a little bit downwards in some of these, right? Anchor, Ren, RSR, but then you go down to significantly down, right? You go down to MIR, and it just went ballistic. I mean, it just looks like it's almost uncorrelated, right? So very interesting. I really like what MIR is doing with synthetic assets on the blockchain. Terra Luna ranked number 45, up about 4% on the daily, $6.41, $2.6 billion market cap. Just fell quite significantly from those highs, right? So $21 back down to $6. So you could have an interesting little play here where you could do like around a 3.5x just to return back to these highs. That's kind of the way I've been looking at a lot of these, just from a surface level. Is okay. You can speculate on what the new all-time highs will be, but just to return to those highs. With Terra Luna, you have a nice little, I would say like 3.5x gain. Whereas like Fantom, we were up at these highs, 90 cents. Now we're back down to 34 cents. So similar situation, right? But then you see some others like Bitcoin. It's like, okay, just return to 60K. Basically, you just go up 50%, right? So Fantom FTM, number 81 on about 116,000 watch lists, 34 cents, up about 17% on the daily. Market cap is around $865 million. Volume up about 140% at 132 million. Quite interesting. All-time high, all-time lows. Yeah. So anyways, moving on to MIR. Again, MIR just kind of popped off there. If we're looking kind of the same structure where it's like, okay, 12 to back down to where we were here. That was a nice little 3x, right? So 12 to where we were there, but literally just did a nice little, basically 50% pop, right? So pretty crazy what they're doing. So on the daily, you see 56%. $6.31 market cap, close to $500 million. I think those peaks we were around. What was the market cap? Yeah. Well, let's check out this peak. $700 million was the highest market cap. I personally think MIR should be like long-term a multi-billion-dollar project because what they're doing fundamentally with synthetic assets on the blockchain, they already have like Amazon, Netflix, Apple. So basically, you can trade these stocks 24/7, 365 on the blockchain. I think that trend is only increasing. Let's see. So ranked 222, 25,000 watch lists. volume 343 million, up about what 2,500%. Pretty crazy. So that's basically all for today's Daily DeFi. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions. Join the Telegram group, link down for that below. Follow us on Twitter at investglobal_IO. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and all. As always, invest global, and until next time.